Broadcasting from Detroit's Cass Corridor, it's the Metro on WDET. I'm Kerry Jr. II.
And I'm Robin Vincent. Today on the show, the Senate passed President Trump's rescissions bill overnight, so it's headed back to the House today.
It includes clawing back $1 billion of previously approved funding for NPR and PBS.
We'll hear from two veteran journalists about what's at stake and what's missing from the conversation.
Plus, is this election season giving you commitment issues? A mayoral quiz could set you up with your ideal match.
Also, if music is Detroit's language, jazz is the conversation we keep coming back to.
And this weekend, we'll hear from Arab, Armenian, and Eastern jazz at the Concert of Colors.
But first, we're at a flashpoint in America's immigration story. Nationwide, under the direction of President Trump, ICE is doubling down on aggressive tactics, arresting people at immigration court even after their cases are dismissed. Shocking videos have been surfacing of masked agents taking people off the streets. In Detroit, the fallout has shaken local communities. A teen less than 4 credits from graduation was deported after a stop by ICE. These are some of the tactics that led over 300 faith leaders and community members to march this week from Corktown to Detroit's ICE field office. The demonstration was organized by Strangers No Longer. The goal was to deliver a pastoral letter demanding humane enforcement. ICE, however, refused to engage. Odalis Paralis was there. She's with Strangers No Longer. She's an immigrant herself, and she's working to break down barriers between faith communities, in schools and among police, about the challenges and tension of this moment. Odalis, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So first, ICE has ramped up enforcement, as I mentioned, raiding courts, detaining children, turning everyday encounters into sources of fear. How does that national climate feel here in Detroit?
It's definitely something that is felt, and you could feel the sense of fear growing, and that's something that we're actively trying to calm, because a lot this fear incites panic, and then panic incites miscommunication, and misinformation is flows in that sort of environment. So one of the things that we're trying to do is to calm people's fears with Know Your Rights informations and letting them know that they're not alone. A lot of the work that's happening right now at the national level is trying to let people come together in the sense of compassion and dignity for all human beings, of course, inclusive of immigrants, regardless of documentation status.
As we mentioned at the top, a Detroit student was deported just weeks before graduation, and I know that that was someone that people were thinking about when they were marching. It was someone whose name was invoked. I'm wondering how that incident and, say, reports of people detained outside of immigration court, how that's shaping how people understand what's at stake, because you've mentioned, this is creating fear. What else is it doing in terms of affecting the way people are living their lives right now?
It's definitely affecting when they go out, how they go out, with who, if at all. I was there when they were saying the names of the people who have been deported or have been arrested, and I started getting emotional because this could easily be myself. This could easily be one of my family members or a loved one. So even in my own experience as an immigrant in Detroit, I sometimes worry about traveling to certain areas, specifically, for example, if an area has a outside of Detroit, but if they have a 287G agreement, which is a formal collaboration between local police and ICE, I think about traveling to those places. Like, am I okay? Does my husband have my location? Do I have my Know Your Rights red card on me? I have to think about all of these things before I make the decision to go out. And that's me having DACA, which is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. but someone else who may not have any sort of protected status, the fear is even greater.
So what you're saying is that the climate is such that folks who even have the documentation, who can prove that, yes, I am allowed to be here, like there is fear among those folks too, including yourself.
Definitely. And it also affects children too. I've done a lot of Know Your Rights presentations at schools. And in speaking to the parents before the meetings happen, they're telling me about how their children are fearful for their parents going to pick them up from school. They're wanting to stay home to protect their parents.
Now, Odalis, some Americans argue tighter enforcement is necessary. How do you respond to people who feel these aggressive tactics are going to keep their communities safe?
I honestly don't think that they keep communities safe. I know that they don't keep communities safe. In fact, they actually make communities much more dangerous for folks because, for example, if an immigrant is witnessing a situation, they might think twice and may not even call in at all if they know that their police officers are acting as ICE agents. And so this, of course, makes the entire community less safe. And that's just a specific example of something that has happened. Not around here, or not necessarily here, but just in general.
Sure. I want to shift, if we could, to the silent procession this week that you helped organize, where faith leaders and community members marched from Corktown to the Detroit ICE office, hoping to engage with immigration officials there. I'm wondering, why did you all choose silence? And what do you believe it communicated that chants couldn't?
I think there's power in it being a solemn procession, because we have there's power in chants and showing our voice and being very loud, of course. But there's also that sense of solidarity in being silent. And also, it's the way that I saw it personally was a way for us to really reflect as we are walking on what it means to be compassionate, what it means to really put our faith in action when it comes to understanding immigrants and their sort of suffering, but their resilience being in this environment right now. That's how I understood that silence, and that's what I was doing.
The group you work for, Strangers No Longer, and other participants of this march framed it as a moral act rooted in Catholic teaching. But calling out ICE is, well, it's inherently political. Talk about the intersection of faith and activism. How deep are those ties?
Yeah, I think it definitely, Strangers No Longer is based on Catholic social teaching, which essentially goes to the root of what it means to be a Christian, which is in the values of compassion and welcoming. And I think when we were organizing the solemn procession, we were really thinking about how can we bring people together to really think about those core values in their faiths, in their religions, and put those things into action. Because it's something to just think about it and to say, oh, yes, of course, we have to be compassionate towards our neighbors and welcome people. But at this point, with everything that's happening at the national landscape, it's our duty now to actually do something about it.
This is the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. We're talking about a silent procession this week of faith leaders and community members who marched to ICE's regional office in Detroit. They were marching to condemn the Trump administration's aggressive immigration enforcement. Our guest is Odalis Perales. She's with Strangers No Longer, the group that organized the event. It's working to break down barriers in churches, schools, and police departments about immigration issues. Odalis, twice as many U.S. Catholics identify as conservative as they do liberal. That's according to a recent Pew Research study. We know that Pope Leo and here in Detroit, Archbishop Weisenberger are speaking out in defense of immigrants. But that's not necessarily changing all the hearts and minds of conservative Catholics, despite what you've discussed about these universal ideas that really seem to be part of so many different faiths about human rights. So how are you building bridges in places that may be resistant to change?
Yes, I think storytelling is a very important and crucial way to bridge people of different understandings and perspectives. I think when it comes to really meeting someone and seeing them face to face, hearing them tell their story, hearing the emotion in their voice as they tell of the sufferings, of the resilience and the things that they have to go through being in this political landscape. I think it really allows people to put themselves in the other person's shoe and think about their own experiences of trauma, of suffering, and of going through these things in order to keep their families safe and protect themselves. And I think that's one of the key ways that we are trying to bridge people. One of my coworkers recently said that we are people puentes. So we are trying to build bridges ourselves. We are the bridges in order to facilitate this connection that is very possible. We've seen it where people that maybe hold more conservative views, but they are very willing to help us out after they hear a direct story from one of our immigrant leaders.
And it's stories of these aggressive tactics in particular, would you say?
Yes, and of stories of origin too, stories of why they migrated to the United States and just their daily lives. I think a lot of people maybe may see immigrants as the other person. They don't really relate to them. They don't find that sense of common ground with them. But once they actually get to know them, that's where those connections happen.
You're extending support into rural Hispanic communities. That's part of this work too for you, where trauma isn't always visible. Tell me briefly, what mental health challenges are you seeing and why is faith-based outreach vital here?
Isolation, depression, and rise in a lot of even PTSD really associated with these things are on the rise. And that's why we are currently recruiting bilingual individuals in the community who want to be trained as community health workers with a focus in mental health. And that's one of our strategies that we're doing to try to get to people in rural areas that may otherwise not be seen. And I think churches have a really powerful potential to reach more people because people instinctively want to go towards their faith and they know that place and they trust the people. And we're using the trust of the faith that holds us together to help people get the services that they may need.
Before I let you go, Odalis, I want to stay on the topic of mental health for a moment. You're an immigrant yourself, as you've mentioned, and that means the kind of advocacy you're doing has to feel personal.
Yes.
Talk about the weight of that, of advocating for people and issues that speak to your own identity.
Yes, a lot of the times I have to take myself a step back and say, okay, let me give myself a moment to call my mom, who's in Florida right now, and she's also an immigrant, and ask her how she's doing and maybe tell her a joke. That way we can both laugh together. I think for me, at least, to keep myself afloat, it's really important to insert intentional joy into my days and into the work that I do. For example, in Know Your Rights presentations, I like to throw in some jokes or some culturally relevant things that may get the people in the room to chuckle a little, despite the heaviness of the topics that we are discussing.
In the last 30 seconds that we have here, ICE didn't open the door to dialogue during the march this week. What's the next move for Strangers No Longer and your message about faith, community, and human rights?
Yeah, we're going to be continuing our vigils at the ICE regional office, and we are going to be to keep praying. We're going to reach out to Congress people to see if we can leverage that so that they can open the door to us and then we can start a fruitful dialogue. And it's just about building that relationship so that we can make some change.
Odalis Perales is with Strangers No Longer. The organization is trying to build bridges with Catholic faith leaders in schools and among police when it comes to immigrant rights. Odalis, thanks for joining us on the Metro.
My pleasure. Thank you.
The Metro contacted Detroit's ICE field office about the letter that faith leaders tried to deliver and if the field office director would be willing to engage with faith leaders. We're waiting to hear back. This is the Metro on WDET, where our annual listener survey is out now, and your responses inform the way we produce the Metro. Let us know how we're doing. Go to WDET.org/survey. It'll take you less than 10 minutes. Coming up, the Senate passed President Trump's bill to take back funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. The House votes on it today. As the local news landscape changes, we'll take a moment to reflect on the state of local news with veteran journalist and broadcaster Huel Perkins. This is the Metro on WDET. Stay with us.